What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for Season 3, Round number 3, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at Imola. It's going to be our first time driving this track on the F1 2021 My Team Career Series. So yeah, should be interesting to see how this one goes. We're going to do some upgrades here. These are a couple that failed last time out, so we're going to put them on the car, see where we are going into this race weekend. We're also going to, of course, do our activities here, just a few different ones here to mix it up, see how we go with some, some driver acclaim and team acclaim and stuff. And after we get those upgrades, because those upgrades do come through before this race weekend, we actually end up quite considerably the quickest car on the grid on paper. So yeah, we've overtaken Ferrari, and we are actually pretty much at 900 there, a good probably 50 points, R&D points ahead of Ferrari. So I think I'm actually going to slow down my R&D kind of development a little bit, because even though I've now got my resource point rate for me on reduced, and for the AI it's on increased, it seems to be that the AI just don't really upgrade in the same way that the player does. So I'm going to probably put some durability upgrades on the car from now onwards, for a while, just to keep the fight close between all the cars, because, or at least the cars at the top, because I don't want to just run away. I mean, it happened when I played F1 2020. My team just ended up by far and away the quickest car on the grid, and even with regulation changes, I could just keep that gap massively, and yeah, it just isn't really any fun. So I want to keep things as close as possible, so I'll probably slow down my R&D a little bit. So you might see in the future I have a lot of R&D points, and you're probably wondering why you're not using them. It's because I'm trying to keep things close between the teams. Now, I did get all the way through to Q3 here. I'm going to say that right now. Should really be expected when I'm by far and away the quickest car on paper, at least. But my Q1 lap was my quickest lap. So that's why I'm showing you the full Q1 lap here. It was just a much better lap than the others. I mean, I think I was only 2/10 slower in Q2, but it was a 1:12.7 in Q1. It puts me P8, so I'm still not really as high up as I should be, but we know from this career mode season that my quali pace is not as good as my race pace, so I'm always a little bit down on quali, but I'm there in the race. Daniel Ricciardo goes P1, so it's very good from him. He's showing the car is correct at the top of the, that it being that high up the grid is correct. He is getting some good pace out of the car. In Q2, it was an okay lap, but yeah, it was a little bit, I think it was about 2/10 slower than my Q1 lap. It was a 1:12.9. We ended up P4 though, because a lot of the other drivers, Hamilton, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Norris and Verstappen, all going for the mediums. Carlos Sainz, though, the big shock here, he tried to get through to Q3 on the mediums, but didn't make it out of Q2. So the Ferrari, and the Ferrari still the second quickest car, looking very quick here. Out in Q2, so Sainz has got a lot of work to do in Ferrari's home Grand Prix here, or one of their home Grand Prix, because of course this season we're going to Italy twice, with Imola and later on in the season Monza. So yeah, Ferrari wanted to get a good result here, having Sainz out in Q2, P13 on the grid as well, not looking so good for him. And then yeah, it was a wet Q3. I ended up going P9, could not get the best lap in the wet. Just my lack of experience on this track really hurt me, especially in the wet here. So we're going to start P9. Daniel Ricciardo puts it on pole position. I believe it's the first pole for our team, so let's see how this goes.
Welcome once again to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. The clue's in the name. This is very much Ferrari home turf, and the locals will be out in force today to support their team in what we hope will be a magnificent spectacle of motorsport. On then to the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. A lap of Imola. Anti-clockwise, of course, unlike most of the Formula One circuits, will take our drivers around 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. Without a good exit from that corner, they'll lose a lot of time on that stretch. With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position today, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Norris, Sergio Perez and Joe, Hamilton, Giovinazzi, Shaw and Pierre Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz and Lundgaard, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi, Mick Schumacher, Mazepin, Vettel. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, so here we go to 5 red lights for the first Emilia Romagna Grand Prix on this career mode of ours. I'm sure there'll be many more to come as the lights go out and we are underway. It's a pretty good initial start from us, and not a great start from Hamilton. He's on the medium tyre, so he's not going to have such a great start. Pierre Gasly alongside me gets a really good start and he's on the outside. There are a lot of cars 2 by 2 up ahead of us. A lot of stuff going on here, as I believe that was Hamilton once again having a little look in front of us. We get caught up on the curbs and a little bit on the grass there, and yeah, have kind of left a bit of room, a bit of a gap now in front to Pierre Gasly, but we're trying to keep, I believe it's now Esteban Ocon behind us. You can see in the background there, Carlos Sainz, he's trying to weave his way through the field. He's just got himself alongside Lewis Hamilton, who, like I said, is on the medium tyre, so has not had the greatest start, but potentially his strategy might help him and Mercedes score their first points of the season, because yeah, Mercedes haven't, still 2 rounds down, have not scored a single point this season, as we get very close to the back of Pierre Gasly through that fast uphill sort of section there. Really fun section that I do quite enjoy it, as there are lots of cars very close to each other up ahead. I think that's Norris and Giovinazzi having a little bit of a battle there, as we are now having a look up the inside of Pierre Gasly into the final couple of corners here. We're going to go around the outside of this next corner here, hang it out wide. We're potentially a little bit off the track there, but we're still on the curbs. We don't get a grid a penalty or anything, so I believe it's all good. You can just see behind there, Pierre Gasly is doing a great job as one of the McLarens goes for a move up ahead, and I think that is Lando Norris going for a move on Guan Yu Zhou and the Mercedes, I believe. They're side by side just ahead of us. We're trying to get a good run on Giovinazzi here. We've now got Gasly and Carlos Sainz, who's made himself all the way up to P8. We're actually now up to P6, because looking at the start of the race once again here, a few of the front cars ended up coming in for pit stops at the end of lap 1 because of a little bit of damage. We're watching Max Verstappen. He's going for a move for P2 on Charles Leclerc, but they come through the first chicane and he just has a little bit of a tap with Leclerc's front left wheel, and we're going to see an onboard shot here in a second of just what's happened. We can see he has the inside going into this corner, but Leclerc tries to hold it around there, and it's just the tiniest bit of damage, but that does give Verstappen a tiny little bit of wing damage. A similar thing just behind with Sergio Perez. He's in a battle with Lando Norris, and he gets some damage there as well. I think you can actually see just ahead, just in front of Perez there, that little bit of damage, front wing damage coming off Verstappen's car. So yeah, Verstappen and Perez both into the pits on lap 1, so that's given us a couple of positions there. And looking up here, Lando Norris has made the move on Guan Yu Zhou, so that's another position up for him. Daniel Ricciardo was leading the race. Lap 4 here, DRS of course is now enabled, and that's going to give give Charles Leclerc the DRS. These guys have got quite a large lead over the rest of the grid. I mean, you can't even see third place in the background, as Charles Leclerc is going for a move around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo, gives him the inside for the next corner, but Ricciardo's not going to give up easily. They're still side by side, and Ricciardo still just about got it at the moment, but Charles Leclerc is going to try around the outside, brake late, and it's a very beautiful move from Charles Leclerc. His driving is top form. I mean, he came second in Bahrain round 1. He won last time out in China, and he's now in the lead of the race for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix for for Ferrari's home Grand Prix. So things looking good once again for Charles Leclerc, as we are stuck behind this little battle here. I've got Carlos Sainz right behind me, so like I said, he's had a great start to this race, up to P7 already from P13 at the start. We're only 5 laps in. We have Giovinazzi, Norris and Guan Yu Zhou up ahead of us. Norris on the medium tyres, so he is slowing us down a little bit here. He had a pretty good start and was attacking cars at the start, but I think he's now got damage because already he's come in for a pit stop. So that's both McLarens coming in for damage, as I think that's also Ricciardo. Ricciardo's coming for damage too, because him and Leclerc had a little bit of contact in that little battle we saw earlier, and that means that Ricciardo's had to come in for front wing damage as well. So really unfortunate for him. Let's see what is going to happen, because he was of course on the medium. So yeah, definitely coming in too early there, and we go way too wide out of that fast right hand corner. That lets Giovinazzi back through again after we did get a move on him earlier on. So yeah, we've got to now try and make that move back on Giovinazzi, with Carlos Sainz now putting pressure behind us. As we look at the two Alpines a little bit further back, Christian Lundgaard trying to get a move done on his teammate Esteban Ocon, because he has got the DRS. He's going to try around the outside of turn 1, but he makes contact with his teammate and spins him round. There's debris everywhere, and then Lundgaard just reverses back into, I believe that's one of the Alfa Romeos. But yeah, we just look here. He's just trying to find his way past. He's got the DRS. He's just so much quicker than his teammate at this point, and he tries to hang it around the outside, but just clips the front right of his teammate, and yeah, that sends him spinning around, and then he reverses into one of the Alfa Romeos. So yeah, things not going very well for Christian Lundgaard there. It was once again looking like a pretty decent run for Alpine, but that's definitely not done them any favors, as we are now looking at another move on, I believe this is on, yep, on Antonio Giovinazzi. This time we've got the DRS back again, and we're going to try this time not to make any silly mistakes further on in this lap. And yeah, that brings us up to, well, P3 at the moment, with some of the cars in front coming in for pit stops. However, then we get this.
Seems to be an issue with our ERS. Okay, touch wood. Seems like the fault has resolved itself.
Thankfully, though, it doesn't seem to be a problem. Basically, engineer came over the radio saying there's an issue with our ERS, but instantly it seemed to be fixed. So hopefully no more issues for the rest of the race, because that's definitely not what we need here. We're actually running in a pretty good position now, thanks to some issues up ahead. But Giovinazzi has now got the run on us. We didn't have a great run out of that final corner. He's got past us through the DRS zone on the front straight, and Carlos Sainz has done another beautiful move round the outside of us into turn 1. Those Ferraris loving that late braking round the outside move. Both of them, both drivers doing that this race. One on me and one on my teammate. So yeah, interesting stuff there as we come into the pits on, well, it's end of lap 11 actually. We're already on to lap 12. We're going to change onto a set of hard tyres, because the team, we were originally going to do a 2-stop. I think it was a softs onto 2 mediums, or maybe 2 softs onto a set of mediums. The team says try a set of hards, and I think that was the way to go, because pretty much everybody around me is also doing that same strategy. Further up the road, I think at this current point in time, yeah, it's just ahead of us, I believe, and that is Lando Norris has made a move on Guan Yu Zhou, and now Guan Yu Zhou under threat from Antonio Giovinazzi, who has just about, I think, got the position on him, and now Carlos Sainz is gone for a move on Guan Yu Zhou as well. Zhou not having such a good time here in that Mercedes car. He's looking to score his first points on the team's first points of the series, of the season, but yeah, at the moment he's kind of getting dumped down the order. He's just lost 3 positions in the space of about 4 or 5 corners, and now I am right on the back of the Chinese driver, and I want to try and make a move on him as well. And sure enough, into this chicane here, we're going to be on the outside. He goes defensive, but I kind of figured I'm going to let him kind of outbrake himself, and I thought that was going to happen, and we're going to try and get the run on him with ERS down this long right hand corner here. We're just about going to get through without going onto the grass. Just keep it on the curb. We're going to go around the outside, similar move to Gasly, a little bit onto the gravel there, onto the sand, but no real issues. However, that probably wasn't the best move for me, because now I don't have DRS. Guan Yu Zhou has the DRS, so going down the front straight here, and he's got the DRS, and he's going to just pull alongside us around the outside and get the position back into turn 1. So I probably should have been a little bit smarter with my move there, because that didn't really work, but thankfully for me, it didn't lose me a whole lot of time. I managed to get back past him again on the next lap with DRS. We're now very much on our own here, and I have to now try and put my foot down and catch back up to Sainz and Giovinazzi up ahead. Speaking of those two, Sainz is trying to make a move on Giovinazzi. He's got the DRS, Giovinazzi does not, and he's going to go round the outside into turn 1 once again, but he gets the move done before they even get to the corner, and that's Sainz now up to, I believe, P2, because Ricciardo's, of course, dropped back quite a bit because of his front wing change, and he's trying to now make his way through the order as we overtake Mazepin under blue flags there, lapping him, and yeah, so it's currently at the moment sitting at a Ferrari 1-2. Once again, it was a Ferrari 1-2 finish last time out in China. It's currently a Ferrari 1-2 once again here at their home Grand Prix. So they're looking to keep that as Hamilton's going for a move on his teammate, and he gets very, very close to the wall there on the front straight, but he's just about made the move on his teammate. And yeah, these two running in the points now, so it's looking good for a points finish for Mercedes at the moment, but they are kind of just on their own at the moment, a fair way back from myself and Giovinazzi, who I've now caught up to, and I'm going to make a move on him. A lot of the moves on this track do seem to happen into turn 1 on that front straight. It's quite a long front straight, and with the DRS, quite easy to make overtakes, but unfortunately they're not the most exciting of overtakes, just because, you know, they are just DRS overtakes. As we have Ricciardo making his way through the grid, he's caught up now to Lewis Hamilton. He's already got past Guan Yu Zhou, and he's now up into P5, so it's looking like at least a top 5 finish for Ricciardo, so not terrible, but I mean, I don't know if he would have got the win, because Leclerc just seems to be in another headspace on another planet at the moment in this career mode. But you know, if he didn't have the front wing damage, I think Ricciardo was gonna have a pretty easy P2 on his hands. But unfortunately, it's looking like only a top 5 for him. But we are chasing down Carlos Sainz. We're in a podium position right now, P3. But we're trying to keep with Sainz here. But now, in front of us, Carlos Sainz, his engine has gone up in smoke. We have smoke all up in our face. Very difficult to see at that point of the track there. And Carlos Sainz is out of the Grand Prix. That is 2 mechanical failures in 3 races for Carlos Sainz. He had a mechanical failure at round 1 in Bahrain as well. So super unlucky for him. It's good for us though, because we're now up into P2. That also moves Giovinazzi, I guess the home hero, into P3. Of course, Antonio Giovinazzi is an Italian driver, and this is an Italian race, so he's really, I'm sure, wanting to get on the podium here for the first time with Red Bull. As we have a look at, I believe that is Max Verstappen making his way through the grid after his lap 1 incident, having to change his front wing. He has got past Guan Yu Zhou and is up into like P7 or something, I don't know, P6 or 7, and now we are just overtaking Nicholas Latifi on here, just with as a back marker under blue flag. So we get past him. It's looking like a pretty decent, a pretty easy P2 for us. There's quite a gap to Giovinazzi, but yeah, Leclerc is way out in the lead, and he goes through to win the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. He makes it 2 in a row for himself and for Ferrari. He wins this race. Ferrari's one of Ferrari's home races of the season, but we come through for a P2, so it's awesome to get another podium for us. Really unfortunate, Daniel Ricciardo couldn't quite get past Giovinazzi at the end, but he finishes P4, so I think altogether, pretty good finish for our team.
It's a performance that our Emilia Romagna Grand Prix winners can be justifiably proud of, and I'm sure there'll be celebrations tonight. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So there we go, Charles Leclerc wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. We come home in P2, so it was a pretty good recovery from us after a pretty poor qualifying. Giovinazzi comes through for P3, so that's going to be good for him, you know, getting his first podium with his new team Red Bull, and also at his home Grand Prix here, so I'm sure he's happy about that. Daniel Ricciardo comes through for P4, give it another lap and he would have got past Giovinazzi and made it a double podium for us, but unfortunately it was not to be. Both Mercedes score points, P5 and P8 there for Hamilton and Zhou respectively, and yeah, poor Carlos Sainz retiring for 2 times in 3 races. Really super unlucky for him. As we look at the current driver standings, well, Charles Leclerc is taking a fair bit of a lead at the front. He is a good amount ahead of Max Verstappen in second place, and we are just 1 point behind Verstappen, now up in third place. Giovinazzi moves up to 5th. Daniel Ricciardo staying in 6th place there, but it's very close between all those guys. Hamilton up to 10th as well, scoring his first points of the season. And yeah, down the back of the grid, the 2 Williams are actually the 2 highest no point finishing cars. We move up to 2nd in the Constructors' Championship, which is awesome, moving ahead of McLaren and also ahead of Red Bull. Mercedes with their points, 14 points, move up to 6th. And yeah, it's shaping up to be a good season. I'm really excited to see what is to come next time out in Portugal. So it's going to be the first race at Portugal at Portimao, so that should be interesting there. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.